the potential of generative AI in revolutionizing audience experience. And allow me to introduce to you Mr. David Tjan, the Director of Business Innovation of GEVME. Now, Mr. Tjan, with 18 years in the technology industry, drives business innovation at GEVME, collaborating on event technology projects with top clients in Singapore's government, enterprise, education, and MICE sectors. And he consults and trains diverse audiences on using technology to enhance business processes. Recently, he has spoken at various industry events discussing the impact of AI on the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to invite Mr. Daniel Tjan on the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Right, happy to be here. And for today's session, and why we wanted to do this on day 2. I think yesterday you all have gone through quite a bit of the panel discussions about AI. So I think most of you all are experts now in terms of AI, hopefully, right? So what I wanted to do also is I just wanted to actually share in terms of some of the AI tools right now which essentially can be used in terms of business events. A lot of times, right, when people are talking about AI, it's what perhaps is something in the near future, so on and so forth. But I think what I wanted to focus on, right, is essentially the tools which is available for you right now to implement for your customers. Now, generative AI, right, we've heard about it, but essentially, what is it? Now, there are a couple of things, right? And maybe if you can just get your handphones out, I'm just going to ask 2 questions this time, right? In this case, how often are you using? So it's essentially a drop-down list, right? Just take 30 seconds for that. Yeah, I see quite a lot scanning. Okay, and I'll just move on to a next question as well. So whoever finishes fast, we can just go ahead, right? And which tools do you use, right? Be it ChatGPT, be it Gemini, so on and so forth, right? So these are the main 2 questions which we'd like to find out as well. Okay, see some scanning, yeah. All right. So yeah, just feel free to just answer. So I'll just move on for now. I'll just skip these questions for now. Okay. So we all know generative AI is here, right? But again, what exactly is it? So there are a couple of things everyone knows, right? Copilot, everyone knows, for example, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, so on and so forth. These are all the so-called foundation tools which we are all very familiar with. So if anyone uses ChatGPT, right, if you realize they've just launched a new model, all right? So what happens is that not only are they able to reply you by voice, but they can use the camera as well. So this is an example of it. I think there's audio for this video.
Oh, look at that little bundle of fluff. That setup looks super cozy for her. How's she settling in so far?
Well, she hasn't eaten yet. Do you think that's concerning?
It can be normal for kittens to take a little time to adjust to a new environment. So if it's just been a day, she might still be getting comfortable. Have you noticed her drinking water or exploring her new space?
Well, she's never really left the bathroom yet, but she has water, she has food, and a little cozy space in the litter, so hopefully she will come out soon.
It sounds like you're giving her a great setup to feel secure. She's probably just taking her time to get used to everything. Once she feels more confident, I'm sure she'll start venturing out.
So, we were always saying generative AI is like your personal assistant. But now generative AI is probably like a friend as well, right? And again, just imagine, right, in terms of especially the next generation, in terms of what we call the digital natives, right? In terms of all these tools, they are just normal. So I was taking some photos, right, yesterday, and I was taking some photos of some of the speakers as well. Do anyone recognize them? No? Because guess what? These is 100% AI generated as well, right? So these are the kind of quality now. But if you notice, AI is pretty bad at text, right? So texts are pretty gibberish, so on and so forth. But again, imagine the type of quality. So if we are a marketing agency, right, if you need to churn out, drafts, proposals, so on and so forth, these are the kind of images which can come out. And again, these are like photo quality, and these are photo quality images which is being churned out by AI, right? Anyone heard of Sora? Right? It was just launched a couple of months back in terms of how they are able to generate videos from prompts. So this, again, is 100% generated by AI. And if you notice, now AI knows physics. If you look at the water, the ripples of the water, right? If you notice, handbags swaying, so on and so forth. So these are the kind of things whereby right now is being able to be generated by AI. So how it will help us in terms of efficiency, productivity, that's something, again, in terms of our own work processes, right? That's something which we can then look into as well. However, how about in terms of audio, right? So you have somebody walking like that. But how about in terms of the sounds around it?
In a place beyond imagination, where the horizon kisses the heavens, one man dares to journey where few have ventured. Armed with nothing but his wit and an unyielding spirit, he seeks the answers to mysteries that lie beyond the stars.
So, what if I told you everything what you heard is 100% AI generated as well, right? So imagine again in terms of our workflow, how we are able to use it, for our customers, presentations, proposals, so on and so forth. Again, is this 100% perfect? No, and it's not meant to be. But in terms of our workflow, how we are able to then be more efficient in sending out, the proposals, decks, so on and so forth, right? So I'll just quickly move on as well, right? So just listen to this also.
Snakes, serpents slithering around the glass. No matter how fast I look back, it's like they are about to attack. Two-faced, no thanks. It's like, what did I do to you? Does this count as really losing you? I would have gave you the shirt off my back if you had asked, but now could this be? Is all I ever had, not what it really seems.
And of course, this goes on, right? So this is a full song. And again, this is 100% generated by AI. And if you go to Suno.ai, essentially they have whole playlists. It's not your Spotify playlist, it's your AI playlist of songs right now, right? And that's crazy, because even 2 years ago, right, in order for us to come up with a song, that's a lot of processes behind it. Now, and if you combine everything together, right, in terms of animation, song, so on and so forth. So even with this, for example, and you see how the lip syncing is pretty accurate and on point as well, right? So again, with all these tools out there, we can just think about our workflow in terms of how it can help all this, help our productivity as well, right? So I'll just quickly move forward a bit. So there are a lot of different tools out there. And right now, I think, every day, hundreds and hundreds of tools are essentially coming out. But ultimately, you have your Adobe for digital animation, digital editing. You have, in fact, Canva, so on and so forth, right? So those are tools which you're using. And of course, in terms of Mid-Journey, so on and so forth, DALL-E, all of that are already being used very, very heavily right now. So, who's using generative AI right now, right? Well, guess what? Even kids are using it. So these are your digital natives, right? Whereby, for example, they want to talk to their favorite character, right? Their favorite avatar. So essentially, all of this are being trained on specific characters, right? You can speak to your anime characters, you can speak to, Super Mario, so on and so forth. So all of that ultimately right now, and again, all this is fictitious responses, and again, you can see the disclaimer there, but these are real tools out there right now, right? So as what I showed you earlier, guess what? The music industry is using it. So just think of all the tools earlier, and now how are they combining it, right?
Last night,
And you know what? This goes on, of course, right? It's a full music video as well. And again, for all those, whereby we know, in terms of filming, in terms of music creation, doing that traditionally will take a very long time. Now, in terms of corporates, teams are using it, and this was a survey done as well, right? But what was interesting about this survey also is that a lot of teams are using it internally, but it's not something whereby in terms of a corporate component whereby they're pushing it in terms of governance, in terms of compliance, so on and so forth. And quite a few sessions yesterday was about that also in terms of data privacy, security, so on and so forth, right? So what we are saying is that also in terms of corporates, we need to then start looking into a governance program. What tools can you use? What tools can you not use, right? So on and so forth. And guess what? Countries are using it, right? So again, just a couple of months back, this was launched in terms of the AI faculty at UTM, right? So this is a big step for, obviously, for Malaysia and different countries also, whereby they are starting to embrace this also, right?
Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim dan Kerajaan Malaysia atas mandat yang diberikan kepada Universiti Teknologi Malaysia UTM melalui Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi KPT untuk menubuhkan Fakulti Kecerdasan Buatan FAI yang pertama di Malaysia.
Alhamdulillah, tidak sampai 4 bulan, Fakulti AI UTM ini berjaya ditubuhkan dengan kurikulumnya dipelopori oleh mereka yang pakar daripada kalangan cendekiawan tempatan yang telah mencapai tahap antarabangsa. Negara perlu bersiap sedia melakukan anjakan sistem pendidikan negara dalam konteks AI akan menjadi tools utamanya. Fakulti AI di UTM akan menjadi katalis kepada sistem pendidikan bersepadu AI.
Dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saya luncurkan Fakulti Artificial Intelligence UTM dan Majlis Malaysia Artificial Intelligence Nexus 2024. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So this again is a huge step, right? This is a big step. So just think about the next generation, right? In coming into the workforce, the skills basically, right? When they're coming out to the workforce with again tools increasing all the time. And guess what? Consumer tools, consumer apps, our iPhones, right? I won't play the whole video because otherwise I don't have enough time. But with the iPhones, right now, the next 18, version 18, in terms of your Android phones as well, all of this is within there, right? In terms of WhatsApp, right? You have AI within WhatsApp itself right now. You can ask it any questions, what are the shows, give me a travel itinerary, all from WhatsApp. Of course, in terms of, and this was just launched last week as well, right? So in case anyone who's using an Android phone, ultimately you now have Gemini Live on your phones right now, right? So these are essentially all the tools which we have in terms of our fingertips also right now, right? So just wanted to show you 3 stock videos, right? So I have this. Okay, just a 5-second clip. I have this. And I have this, right? And this might be a person in a suit, huh? Right? Or in a costume. So I have A, B, and C. Who thinks A is generated by AI? A few hands, good. B? Few hands as well. C? Okay, majority. And then the rest? All of the above. All of the above. So guess what? Yes, it's all of the above actually, right? So ultimately, these are all the actual prompts being put in to the AI tool, and this is the output. And these are tools which are already available out there. So this is a Chinese AI tool, Kling.ai. And this is the other prompt on it. So again, yesterday I think there were some sessions talking about prompting, so on and so forth in the different tools. And then of course, lastly, you have just a giant panda playing a guitar, right? So how is this now all possible? What has changed? So we are seeing an exponential growth in AI, in the human history. AI and essentially machine learning or artificial intelligence is not new, right? We've had machine learning from the 50s. However, if you look at where we've been over the past 3 years right, that has essentially enabled us to actually use all of that data, and in terms of the different large language models, how we are then using it in the various tools. So in terms of the large language models, right now, of course, whatever training input is going into it, of course, there'll be output. A lot of times we've seen single outputs, but over the past couple of months, if you notice some of the videos as well, it's becoming multimodal. So what it means is that it can not only generate text, music, video, images, all together. So this is then the power of AI nowadays. And if you notice, and again, these are all different large language models, but what I wanted to show is that ultimately this is based on training data. And the base of GPT, right, so there was 175 billion parameters, that means data is being trained. And if you look at ChatGPT 4, right, which was released a couple of months back, that's 1.7 trillion. Now, if you put that into perspective, right, this is essentially the size difference. And what will happen in the next one for GPT-5? Who knows? So what should we do, for ourselves? What should we do in terms of the organizations as well?
There's no dictionary in the world that can tell you the difference between the word complete and finished. But there's a way for you to understand it. If you use and embrace artificial intelligence, you will be complete. If you do not and you're late, you'll be finished. And if you reject it altogether, you will be completely finished.
All right. So again, what can we do, and what can we do right now? Right? And of course, people are saying, hey, let's adapt. Now, and the thing is that, yes, we always want to know for ourselves within an organization, why? Why are we doing this? Why do we need to do it? How are we going to be doing it? In terms of what can we do whereby we are able to then also promote success, failures, so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, what can we do to train our team, to empower the team for making decisions? Because again, if you notice, if you remember the slide, a couple of slides back, in terms of teams who are using it, right? A lot of them, the bosses don't know that they're using these kind of tools. And the answer is why? Right? So we need to empower our teams as well. So in terms of the why, right? So of course, the why will basically come from here. Do we want to actually create, for example, new business models, new revenue streams? Do we want to enhance our attendees' experience, our customers' experience? Do we want to enhance our core capability as an organization to launch a new product, for example? Do we want to actually be more efficient? Do we want to have more productivity within the teams? So these are the kind of things whereby we need to align internally first. And then, of course, we can demonstrate. How? So we always ask ourselves, how can AI help enhance? And if you remember this, and this was, so-called recent, right? Having AR, VR in terms of these events and all that. Anyone has attended any form of VR event, AR event? No? Guess what? I myself have not, right? So can you imagine all of us right now with these in our faces? And this was supposed to be, the future, right? But again, this is not how we are able to use it right now. So then the question is that, how can we use AI to really help the visitor experience right now? So a couple of things which can be done. And I think, the three easiest and main thing is all about personalization. It's all about having, different experiences for your customers, for your attendees. And of course, how do we make our operations more efficient as well? So in terms of personalization, and again, this was mentioned yesterday as well, in terms of, how can we have smarter way of doing things. So in terms of a concierge, right, you can even ask, for example, event-specific questions. And all this, for example, are real scenarios. These are real events, these are real questions, which, we've developed for some of our customers as well. So you can ask it, obviously, hey, when's the breakout? Who's talking? From which country are they speaking? So on and so forth. The next thing is that in terms of even asking general questions, right? So what's interesting around the venue? What's interesting around KL Convention Center? What's interesting around KLCC? Right? All of this ultimately is really available out there. Traditionally, for us to do it will be very expensive, very time. It'll take a lot of time and resources as well. But in these kind of cases, nowadays with AI, this can be done very, very easily as well. And all of this, essentially, you have all the different data, right? Local data, you have, for example, internet data, and basically you can say that, hey, you know what, I want to find an art gallery, or I want to get some souvenirs, right? Where can I get it from? So in terms of the augmentation of the experiences also, right? And of course, we talk about check-in and all that. We talk about facial recognition. But the idea for facial recognition as well, and that's again a sensitive topic, but the assumption right now is that, we've all gotten enough, essentially, consent, so on and so forth, right? But let's say you have that. What happens then is that when people are checking in, you can even ask it and to recommend which are the sessions you want to go to, right? Especially if there are concurrent sessions happening. Which are the sessions should they go to, so on and so forth. So all of this already is currently available right now. And of course, in terms of languages, especially within Southeast Asia, within Europe, right? There are a lot of, or rather within Asia and Europe, a lot of languages out there.
Eddie, vous allez bien? Très bien, c'est le deuxième jour du rock and roll.
Yeah. So again, all these are already available right now, right? And also you have devices which you can buy, right? So with this, ultimately what happens is that it goes both ways as well, right? And this is again is a live demo. I'm just skipping ahead a bit.
These time kettle translation AirPods to the test. I've got one in my left ear. Yes, you've got one in your right. We've set it up for Chinese and Dutch. I didn't want to speak English because obviously you speak great English. So this is the real test. Let's see if we can communicate with each other. Yes? 今天怎么样？还可以吗？
Het gaat goed.
Ja?
Ja.
请问这是你第一次来美国吗？
Nee, ik kom hier vaker.
Ja? 我想问一下，你这次来是来这里旅游，还是你来这里出差？
Allebei.
Allebei?
Yeah, I'll just skip it. I'm really running out of time. But ultimately, yeah, this is all real-time translation, right? So in terms of note-taking as well, right? So right now, we are all here, we are listening to many, many sessions, some are concurrent sessions as well, right? So this is effectively what we are recording for all the different sessions right now, right? And ultimately, and the organizers have decided to give a gift as well. What we are able to do, essentially, with all of these sessions is that, you can churn out post-event reports for your customers. You can have it as, again, a different revenue model, right, which you can have competitive analysis reports, so on and so forth, for sponsors, exhibitors, and all of that from all the sessions which are happening at the event, right? So in this case, just scan this QR code. This QR code ultimately is for the sessions from yesterday and today as well. So again, at your free time, later, tonight, on the way home, in case you missed any of the sessions yesterday, you are able to actually view on the left-hand panel. You can go back to all the different sessions which you may have missed as well. So all of these essentially are helping you as attendees, helping us, me as an attendee, right, to see all the sessions which is happening. So obviously yesterday I didn't attend all the sessions, but based on all these key takeaways and summaries, we are able to actually see what all the speakers were talking about. Okay? Now, in terms of being efficient, so we do surveys all the time. But with these surveys, how are we able to show real-time all the different sentiments, especially when we're doing workshops, roundtable discussions, so on and so forth, right? So what happened is that obviously there's an input, but using AI, and again, real-time, the AI is able to churn out and generate the different sentiments, whatever you're seeing right now. And in terms of, for example, analyzing the data, right? Usually after surveys, it'll take weeks, days, weeks, maybe even months, to come up with these kind of reports. But using all this information right now, what can happen is that in terms of just feeding it the data, and again, just upload a file, you don't even need to read through everything, and it basically can churn out in terms of the different sentiments, be it, for example, negative sentiments, positive sentiments, and it can even give recommendations. How can we improve in terms of this negative sentiment, for example, on, I don't know, say F&B, on, facilities, so on and so forth. So these are the kind of things whereby, again, right now, it's already available. So in terms of our workflow as well, how are we able to incorporate that so that we can then, again, use it for the betterment of our customers? All right? I'll come back to that later. And lastly, in terms of AI tools, in terms of running sustainable events, right, how are we able to do it in an easier way? So Net Zero Carbon Events is an initiative, right? It's a European initiative, and it's done by a joint association as well. They have a lot of work streams. They have about 32. So for example, they have the roadmap for the Net Zero roadmap. They have, for example, offsetting guides. They have food and waste guides, so on and so forth, right? Venue energy guides. But realistically, who is going to read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents? So this tool, ultimately, what happens is that it takes all of the information, puts it within its own learnings, and you can then ask it questions, because otherwise, again, how are we going to go through everything? And again, if you look at it, the formats are different, so on and so forth. So just by reading this, would I be able to know how to essentially solve my food waste issue? But using a tool like this, what happens is that you can say that, hey, I have some catering guidelines. I'm going to be running a seminar. Guess what? I just want a very simple checklist. I just want a simple checklist on what I can do to help with my sustainable catering, for example. So these are the kind of things whereby you can now copy-paste it, pass it on to the different teams. But guess what? You can talk to your data as well. You can talk to AI. I have essentially attendees who are maybe vegetarian, who are vegan. So in these kind of cases, it can redo the answer based on all that training data and to come up with something which is more applicable for your event, for your attendees. So this, again, you're talking about personalizing, right? These kind of options for your attendees and audience or your customers as well. Okay, so again, another free gift. This is free, absolutely free of charge. Go ahead, use it for your event planning, right? Right now, it's still in beta stage. Net Zero Carbon Events essentially are improving on it all the time as well. Okay, so I'll have this at the last slide. So essentially, to wrap things up, and I have a minute and 40 seconds, right, is that essentially this is what we should be doing. And using all these tools already available, this is something which we can do. So these are the different tools. Again, feel free to experiment and all that. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much, and maybe we can look at some questions now. Again, I think one of the sessions yesterday was, what can AI do? What can AI not do? While AI can actually give us ideas, it can give us past ideas. But what it cannot do is it cannot predict the future, because AI is all about learning past data. So in these kind of things, right, in terms of the limitation, it all comes down to data. If, for example, you have a lot of data within an organization, whereby it's about, for example, proposals, right, about concepts, and use that as your training source, then yes, it can, again, I won't use the word predict because it's a very big word, but essentially this can then recommend certain things based on whatever you're feeding it. So these are the kind of limitations, I would say. If you have rubbish data in, definitely in terms of your responses, they'll be pretty rubbish as well. Right? So very, very important key on that. Yep, next question. We'll take maybe after this one more. We've just run out of time. Yeah, okay. So in terms of, for example, generative AI, we have a lot of tools out there as well. But I think maybe the first step, before we even look at any tools, is to answer the why, the how, right? How are we going to empower our teams as well? Then we can look at the platforms. Now, in terms of platforms, again, there are so many out there, and there are new platforms up and coming all the time. But for planners themselves, we've worked with PCMA, so Flo was a panelist yesterday. What happens is that, with Spark, for example, the one which I shared earlier, you can use that for your own planning. You can use that essentially for creation of themes, event ideas, so on and so forth. So that's, again, one of the tools I'll recommend. If you're, for example, using ChatGPT Plus, ultimately that's something which you can also use. But again, in terms of prompt engineering, that's something which people need to be familiar with it. Okay, and I'll take one last one. Yeah. So in terms of essentially personalization of content, right now I think it's more about personalization of the different languages also, right? If we talk about inclusivity, diversity, of course, and that's where right now AI tools, and to be fair, AI tools mostly were created for language translations and all that, right? But so that's something which is really available currently. So even ChatGPT, I think they support 50, 60 languages, so on and so forth. But in terms of personalization, so what happens is this. If, for example, you have enough data, and this is something which we hope to do with the organizer here, whereby we have in terms of all the different sessions, are we able to then personalize content and information for the audience next year, right? How are we able to do that? Because again, if we know what the audience state is currently in terms of interest, that's something which we can then so-called do for next year. Now, can it predict the future? Again, no, but we can use the past data for it. Okay, so I hope that answered your questions. I'm going to end here. We've run out of time, but I'll be around. We have a table outside also. I'm happy to talk with anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Please remain on stage. And once more, I'd like to invite Mr. Mohammad Rifai to be on stage to present a memento, please, to our speaker. Thank you so much, Mr. Rifai. Let's give a warm round of applause to Daniel. And thank you so much for Snapsight as well. I've been using the app yesterday and also throughout today. And one of the tools that I like here on Snapsight is you can change the language to Malay even if you wish.